This podcast is brought to you by the Alien Soda Company, your connection to pop culture and paranormal themed merch. AlienSodaCompany.shop for all things out of this world.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Paranormal Mind Podcast. Hope y'all are doing well today. And now, for the first time ever, my co-hosts are completely quiet.
That's because
and honestly, I hope it stays that way, but I doubt it will.
What's up, everybody?
Well, usually
It's your boy.
Usually you do like a little intro thing where you say, on today's episode, we're going to talk about this. And then you do the what's up, everybody.
I can still do that.
Well, it's too late. We already started now. Fucking continue.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
The time has passed.
Freaking continue.
All right, so... Good Lord. Well, what did people say on social media? It's like herding cats. Is that what they said? Oh my God, dude. All right, let's go ahead and get started. But we're going to be talking about the Bermuda Triangle today, also known as the Devil's Triangle. I'm already screwing up words. But before we get into that, y'all have heard about Oceangate. I think everybody has heard about Oceangate.
Yeah. I've been asked if we were going to talk about that at all. So
yeah,
here we are.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit before we jump into the Bermuda Triangle and all of that good stuff. Oceangate, right? They've been pushing to make this crazy voyage to the Titanic wreckage site, talking about a trip more than 2 miles deep into the icy North Atlantic, a journey only a handful of people have ever made. But here's where it gets sketchy. People in and around the company, top industry guys, have been sounding the alarm for years. And why are you looking at each other like that?
Because we've already talked about it in great detail.
Really?
Yeah, at work. So we already
But not
know.
on the podcast.
I know. That's why we're waiting on you to get done with your spiel so we can say all the things we want to say.
Okay.
I was just wondering when we were going to do the intro.
Yeah.
So the Titan, that's their submersible, was built to withstand the insane pressures of the deep sea.
Was it? Was it though?
But a ton of experts were like, hey, you should really get this thing certified before we strap humans into it and drop it into the bottom of the ocean.
Nah, we're good.
They saw the potential for disaster if something went wrong down there. The company's own director of marine operations, David Lockridge, wasn't sold on the safety of the Titan either. He even filed a report saying the craft needed more testing and outlined the dangers of passengers once the Titan hit those extreme depths. But here's the kicker. Instead of taking these warnings seriously, Oceangate accused Lockridge of leaking confidential info and kicked him to the curb. They also ignored a warning letter from a whole group of industry leaders and experts who were concerned about Oceangate's gung-ho approach to this mission. Instead of following standard protocols, Oceangate just seemed to shrug off these concerns. They didn't want to cough up the cash for a proper safety assessment, and they didn't want to adhere to regulations that would ensure the safety of the passengers on their trips. Flash forward to now, and the Titan, with 5 people on board, including Oceangate's CEO, unfortunately malfunctioned and all crew members perished. And all of these concerns that were swept under the rug are now coming to light. It's a wild story. I mean, the entire situation was risky from the get-go, and now we're seeing the consequences of ignoring those risks. It just goes to show when you're dealing with the power of the ocean, you can't cut corners. You know, our thoughts are with the families of those that perish for sure. But it's a really, whenever all this was going on, from the very jump, even when it wasn't confirmed that they had passed away,
right,
there were red flags on my end. And there's no way that I'd ever be able to afford something like that.
Oh, no,
but
sure.
But the fact that even if I could afford it, hearing all of these things, I would immediately be saying, I'm not going. I'm not taking this risk. So what are your thoughts on all of the Oceangate stuff and the Titan?
Well, it's going to be a touchy subject just because, people lost their lives and it just happened. So it's hard to really talk about it just because of that aspect. But like the fact that they ignored warnings, I mean, this was essentially just like a Pringles can.
Yeah.
And they seal you inside of it, which is a no-no. You're never supposed to be locked inside where you have to rely on someone else to get you out. That's a red flag.
It was 17 bolts.
Yeah.
So they were locked in with 17 bolts from the outside. So there was no way that they could escape even if they surfaced.
Right.
There was no way that they were able to get out themselves. So even if nobody found them, they'd still run out of oxygen.
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare of a situation.
So the big red flag for Ray and I was that they did not do any NDI testing, which is non-destructive testing, and that's to check for cracks in the material and stuff. And with it being carbon fiber, the compression strength of that is really weak.
Yeah. And for those who don't know why they do the NDI testing is because it costs a lot of money otherwise, because the only way to truly try to figure out what's going on is you tear the structure apart and say, okay, under this amount of pressure, it's good until this amount. But in the process, what you're doing is you're essentially destroying the structure. Yeah. So the NDI testing instead, it prevents that portion of it, but there's specific certifications and protocols that you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than...
it's important. Like every aircraft that you fly on, every piece of that thing has been NDI tested. And when they do maintenance on any of the parts, they NDI test them. I think, there's a great deal of money involved because it has to be raw material. So you have to strip whatever it is down to the basic metal to be able to do the tests.
There's no amount of money in the world that you can put on 5 people's lives.
Exactly.
Just because you didn't want to do something.
I mean, really, that thing should probably be checked after every use if I had to.
Yep, because with it compared to aircrafts, you have the salt water and the marine.
Right, and then the pressure of it, you're putting it under
that thing should have been
pressure.
checked multiple times before it went back each time. So
and a lot of people were scoffing over the Logitech controller and stuff. It's not too far-fetched. There's some Navy people that they use the same thing, but the difference between the Titan and all of these other submersibles the other submersibles were certified. Like you were talking about before, the Titan didn't go through any of those certifications. So there were a lot of questions on to what kind of pressure would it withstand and all of that.
I mean, we deal with joystick driven robots and stuff all the time. Let me tell you something. If I walked into a sub and they were like, we're going to use this Logitech controller we bought on Amazon, I'd be like,
PS3 controller.
And not only that, but then you're about to go 2.5 miles underwater and rely on Bluetooth technology.
And that's it. Like that would have been hardwired first off.
Yeah.
And the multiple times that they did the trips, they lost communication with the submersible for sometimes a couple hours at a time.
Yeah, I would imagine that's going to be pretty standard going that deep into the water like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even James Cameron, the dude that directed the Titanic, he said he's been down there like 33 times. And, But his submarine is like a sphere. And he said that if something goes wrong on the bottom, he can press a button and like little explosions happen and it'll shoot it back up to the surface.
Oh, that's cool.
So he's got fail safes in place so that if everything goes wrong, and he even said when they did an interview with him, he said that as soon as they described what happened when they lost communication, he knew exactly what happened, because you don't lose radio and sonar at the same time unless it's something catastrophic.
It's a sad situation. It really is. And especially hearing about one of the passengers, 19 years old.
Yeah, didn't even want to go.
He didn't even want to go. He was terrified, but he ended up going because it was like a Father's Day gift for his dad. So his dad kind of, I wouldn't say pressured him to do it, but it kind of. You know,
but then
like,
the other person's like stepson was just partying at a Blink-182 concert.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Hamish or whatever. Yeah. But just a sad situation. Like I said, our thoughts are with all of them for sure, their families. But yet, one good thing that comes out of all of it is what they said there was an implosion. If there was, they didn't feel any pain.
They didn't even know what happened.
For sure. It's a fraction of a second.
Yeah, what people don't realize when something like that happens, a catastrophic event like that, their eardrums burst first and then they lose consciousness right away. They pass out.
Man, it happened so quick.
They didn't know what was going on.
It wouldn't even.
Yeah, all of that happened so fast.
A millisecond. Yeah.
They wouldn't even be able to comprehend what happened before it had already happened.
Yeah, which as morbid as it is, I'm thankful for that, because instead of them running out of oxygen over hours and hours at a time.
That's the other thing. The other alternative is that they were stuck down there alive, and I mean, we can't get them out.
Yeah, and the problem is that like if they had have been down there running out of oxygen, they would have had to listen to "My Heart Will Go On" by Celine Dion the whole time.
That is true. Yeah, they were listening
they said
to
it
the
was
Titanic
playing
soundtrack
the whole time. So I mean,
what?
Yeah. They played the Titanic soundtrack in the Pringles can.
No way.
So like they would have been down there suffocating, hearing Celine Dion the whole time.
God, that's terrible.
I would much rather implode.
100%.
You know, My Heart Will Go On had like 7 million streams on Spotify this week.
Oh no!
That just shows you the state,
didn't.
the society that we live in. They streamed My Heart Will Go On almost 8 million times.
I mean, it's probably all for the memes.
The memes have been hard this
horrible.
week, man.
Yeah.
They've been horrible, man.
We can't even get 300 downloads, but
I know. Well, maybe we need to implode.
we're close to it.
Live.
Yeah, that's horrible. Okay, let's move on to the main story. Okay, good Lord. So let's start at the beginning.
On today's episode of the Paranormal Mind.
Right, that's right. So let's start at the beginning. Am I supposed to do?
No,
an
it's
intro?
fine. It's you've finished it. It's fine. Run it. What's the point in having a theme song if we're not even going to use it?
I was just waiting 11 minutes in.
It really sounded like it said you're an idiot. I heard the whisper. It said you're an idiot.
Welcome. You're an idiot.
My God, I swear to God, it takes 20 minutes to get into an episode because of y'all.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It took 20 minutes for you to say what the episode was about and then us play the theme song so we could get into it.
Hey, we had to talk about the news.
People are going to be like, my God, this is a long intro.
It'll be all right.
It's fine.
So let's start at the beginning, okay? We're talking about the Bermuda Triangle, or the Devil's Triangle. I should call it that because I have a hard time speaking today.
Good idea.
So back in the day...
You got to loosen your tongue.
So back in the day in 1950, this guy, Edward Van Winkle Jones. Yeah, it's a funny name.
Winkle.
Yep. He writes an article in the Miami Herald talking about some odd stuff happening in the Bermuda area.
Look, he's our Devil's Triangle.
In 1952, I'm just going to ignore y'all. Then in 1952, George Sand puts out an article in Fate magazine talking about the loss of Flight 19, a group of 5 Navy Avenger bombers that just vanished during a training mission. And this Flight 19 stuff, man, it gets wilder. Y'all. I just need dividers. So
Well, I had a divider for you and you moved him.
Yeah, poor Ricky.
the guy leading the flight is heard saying they're entering whitewater. Nothing's right. They don't know where they are. What's going on there? No one knows. The Navy even says these planes just flew off to Mars. Fast forward to 1964, Vincent Gaddis drops an article called The Deadly Bermuda Triangle in Argosy magazine, talking about Flight 19 and all the other strange happenings in the region. People start buying into this idea, and we get more writers like John Wallace Spencer and Charles Berlitz writing about all this stuff. The area we're talking about, the Bermuda Triangle, is defined as the region between Miami, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. But here's the catch. Everyone's got their own take on it. Some folks even stretch it all the way to the Irish coast. There's a ton of controversy around this too. Larry Cush, who wrote the Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, argues that the claims about the Bermuda Triangle are exaggerated or unverifiable. Then you have the skeptics like Ernest Taves and Barry Singer pointing out that the Bermuda Triangle sells, as profitable as sensational. Lloyd's of London, the famous marine insurance market, got pulled into this when they asked if they had unusually large number of ships sinking in the Bermuda Triangle area. They said no. The Coast Guard also says that they haven't seen any unusual activity in that area, but that doesn't stop the speculation, of course, especially, in our world today, all the conspiracies and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's nonstop talk. You see, when it comes to the Bermuda Triangle, the mystery often overshadows the facts. It's a big ocean, of course, and things can get lost. It doesn't necessarily mean there's anything supernatural or alien going on. It might be, but it also might be that we humans just love a good mystery, and the Bermuda Triangle is one of the greatest mysteries. So here's some notable incidents that we can talk about, all right? First up, we've got the HMS Atlanta, a British Royal Navy training ship, also once known as HMS Juno. This beast set sail from Bermuda to England in 1880 and simply vanished. Now, the assumption is that a gnarly storm wiped them out, and the fact that the crew was full of rookies probably didn't help. But some people still figure the Bermuda Triangle got its mitts on them somehow. Now we move on to the Cyclops, a massive U.S. Navy ship that disappeared in 1918.
That's a dope name.
Yep. Imagine this. The ship was loaded to the gills with manganese ore.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know what manganese is. I deal with that.
One engine was out of whack, and then it just disappears.
Well,
309 crew members gone. No SOS, no wreckage, nothing. Some people chalk it up to storms, some to the war, and others think it was the Bermuda Triangle's hunger at play.
well, so manganese that's going to be is highly flammable and combustible.
Something could have went wrong and it could have just blew up the whole ship.
Yeah.
And with no trace?
Easily.
Easily?
Depending on how much they had on board. Yeah.
If it was slapped full of manganese, it would have been nothing left.
So what is manganese?
It's a metal. We just know because
Of what you do.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yep.
And, all right. So let's not forget about the Carroll A. Deering, a 5-masted schooner found abandoned near Cape Hatteras, North Carolina in 1921. The FBI got involved. They check out theories of piracy, sabotage, even rum runners, but nothing stuck.
hell yeah.
It's like the ship's crew just decided to take a walk mid-journey. Then there's this wild case of Flight 19, a group of 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers that disappeared in 1945.
That one is weird.
Yeah.
They were just on a training flight and suddenly, poof, all contact lost. The planes never returned to base. It's believed that they were disoriented and ran out of fuel, but who really knows what
All
happened?
of them?
Yeah, right.
In another bizarre incident, Star Tiger and Star Ariel, two passenger planes operated by British South American Airways, vanished on their respective flights. These beasts were pushing their range limits, so the slightest misstep or equipment malfunction could have been the end. But the Bermuda Triangle rumors persist. And if that's not enough, in 1948, a Douglas DC-3 airliner carrying 32 people disappeared between Puerto Rico and Miami. No sign of wreckage, no distress call. Just gone. And last but not least, in 1963, a pair of U.S. Air Force KC-135 Stratotanker aircraft collide and crash in the Atlantic. But some say that the crash sites were suspiciously far apart, raising yet more questions.
Those are some big old planes.
Yeah, those things are giant.
So is the Bermuda Triangle just a hotbed for freak accidents and disappearances, or is something weirder going on?
Look, I'm going to let you know now that as a kid growing up, I was absolutely fucking terrified of the Bermuda Triangle.
You know what's funny about
I really felt like the Bermuda Triangle was going to play a bigger role in my life. Like I was
think about that as like kids, man. All the things you learn about.
I was terrified of the Bermuda Triangle and
quicksand.
I assumed that like quicksand was just a thing everywhere, and I was gonna have to watch where I stepped everywhere I went.
Isn't that so bizarre that like as a kid you're like quicksand? That's what's gonna get you if you're not careful.
Well, there were movies at the time that kind of played into all of that.
I just assumed that I was going to be like
the reality is you'll probably never see quicksand.
Yeah. Like after seeing the Never Ending Story and watching Atreyu's horse,
that was it.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, that
was traumatizing.
Yeah,
man.
and the thing is you weren't supposed to be sad, and now look at me, I'm sad all the time every day.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Hey, I think you're more likely to go across the Bermuda Triangle.
See, it's not easy to say, huh?
Bermuda
Than you are to come
Bahama.
across. Come on, baby mama.
It's pretty mama. It's pretty mama, not baby mama. What are you? What kind of version?
Come on, baby mama.
What kind of version are you singing, Josh? Good Lord.
My version.
God.
You know, like
Freaky Josh.
Tay-Tay's cut. This is JJ's cut.
Oh my. All right, we have got to move on now before this episode completely goes to shit.
Too late for that.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll get lost in the Bermuda.
Wah, wah, wah. See, I wish I had this. There we go. All right, so let's dive into some possible explanations of what could be going on at the Bermuda Triangle. So we've got some wild theories out there. Some people believe it's all the leftover gadgets from the legendary lost city of Atlantis messing with our planes and ships. There's this underwater rock formation called the Bimini Road near the Bahamas, which some folks link to the myth of Atlantis.
I like Bimini. That sounds like a fun name.
Believers think this could be a remnant road or wall or something from Atlantis, but science says it's all natural, nothing fancy.
All natural.
Yep. Then there are theories that really bake your brain. Okay. Some people think there's a parallel universe in the Bermuda Triangle causing a freaky time-space warp that pulls in everything around it. Excuse me.
What was that? Yeah, well, that's what we talked about that on another episode. I think the Malaysia Airlines, the vile vortices.
Yep.
Is it in the bow vortices, Bermuda? Yeah. I'd figure.
So there's even talk of UFOs, but let's pull back a little bit and talk about some of the more down to earth explanations.
Don't just brush over UFOs like it doesn't.
Yeah,
like it's not relevant.
Come on, man. We talk about aliens in the news more today than we ever have as a civilization. Come on, man.
We got whistleblowers coming forward every day.
All right. So do you think it's a time slip or time warp type thing, or what's your thoughts on it?
Well, there's a lot of them.
Well, go for it. Let's talk about it.
I got a lot of thoughts on this.
There's 22 vile vortices where weird stuff happens. Every one of these has same stories. I mean, we got the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts that has a hotbed for paranormal activity.
Everything from cryptids to spirits to the UFOs.
There's one in China, like in between the mainland China and Japan. There's like a triangle there. There's one in Mexico, which is where Route 66 was, came from.
Yeah, and we talked about this some on the podcast.
The Malaysia Airlines flight. So yeah, I mean, and the other thing is like the electromagnetic pull of the Earth could play a role in all this. You just hit the wrong spot at the wrong time, a low spot or a high spot, and then you just get got.
I think that there's some of these cases that can't be discounted. Some of them I think you can be, especially if you're talking about aircraft or ships that were flying and basically getting really close to their capacity as far as fuel and stuff of that nature already. So I mean, I think that's pretty dumb in itself. You probably should never do that.
Yeah, I can imagine that this is like the point of no return type spot where if they weren't planning on this being the end of the trip, then you mess something up, you go off course a little bit.
So yeah, logic tells me that if it is a case like that and then they end up coincidentally having issues in the Bermuda, then it's probably just because they didn't, like he said, they veered off the tiniest bit and it caused problems.
I just feel like if it was really like a bigger issue, that somebody would build a Pringles can and go out there and check it out.
Well, they may have, and we just don't know about it.
Well, the other part about this too is how many aircraft go through this area, how many ships go through this area every day.
What's the percentage of ships and planes that disappear in the Bermuda Triangle compared to how many actually go through it? If you got 10 out of 50,000 that have ever went through there, then I mean,
so I think some of the cases are stranger than maybe it being I wouldn't relate them necessarily to the Bermuda.
But to that point too, it's the same thing with hauntings though. Like how many people go to certain places and nothing weird goes on, but it's just the right environment, the right atmosphere, and then there's
I agree with that. But
there's a couple of them. The bombers, that's a really strange case.
The KC-135s,
because then you're looking at like
those are huge.
Statistically speaking, like how does that happen?
Right.
Some of the other data in that doesn't make sense.
Well, and we had to take a look at the time that these things happen too, because sometimes we didn't have the resources that we do now to be able to go and check for wreckage or check for anything. It probably took a lot more resources, and it was probably a lot harder to try to figure out what happened back then. So you got to take that into account too. Some people point to like the magnetic anomalies messing with the compasses, but as any seasoned navigator would tell you, magnetic and true north are not always the same, and so that's normal.
Yeah, and they actually change as the Earth rotates.
Yeah. So any talk about compasses acting weird in the triangle is just a lack of knowledge. People don't really understand what they're talking about.
You remember this goes back to kind of like Amelia Earhart. I'm sure in school you guys are like, her plane went missing. And it's the strangest thing ever.
Yeah.
But really, hers was a smaller passenger plane, right?
It was like a single passenger, a double passenger.
So I mean, you talk about the vastness of the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, you get lost there. I mean, it's
supposedly she like crashed and was like on an island and just couldn't.
Which back then is
very possible.
Very possible.
And so then we've got the Gulf Stream, a river within the ocean that flows through the triangle. This current can easily whisk away a boat or a small plane in trouble.
Yeah, so if they do like go down or something out there, not being able to recover it would not be that.
Yep. And of course, good old human error. People make mistakes, and like this dude Harvey Conover lost his yacht sailing into a storm south of Florida in 1958. I mean, it was that simple. He lost it. So weather is a big factor too. The triangle sees its fair share of violent storms and hurricanes, which have caused many incidents in the past. And then there are sudden downdrafts of cold air. These bad boys can explode outwards like a bomb and cause havoc on the water. One of the more interesting theories revolves around methane hydrates. These are huge fields of natural gas on the ocean floor. Lab tests show that the bubbles from these fields can sink a scale model ship by decreasing the density of the water. So imagine a region of frothy water around a ship that can't provide buoyancy.
Frothy.
That can't provide buoyancy, the ship would sink like a stone, no warning at all, which is amazing.
That's
if
weird,
you think about
man.
it.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So, and it's a big but the U.S. Geological Survey, I'm not talking about Josh.
Why'd you have to say it like
All
that?
right.
It's a big
So
but.
the U.S. Geological Survey says that no large releases of gas hydrates have happened in the Bermuda Triangle for the past 15,000 years. Allegedly. So as you can see, there's a lot of theories and conjectures, but the Bermuda Triangle keeps the secrets well, and the mystery continues.
Agreed.
So again, we talked about the possible theories and all that stuff. We talked about what you thought, that it's not far-fetched, that something weird could be going on. 9 times out of 10, it very well could be.
It's probably just bad timing and freak accident.
The big problem with this is we know so little about the ocean
Right.
still today. I mean, so to put it in perspective, you could fill a glass up with water, and that is relative to how much we know.
Yeah.
About all the
We're trying
water
so hard to go out and explore space, and we haven't even
it's a huge problem.
And we know more about space than we do the ocean,
and
which
that's
is crazy. That's within our atmosphere, and you know, we're trying to explore outer space, and we don't fully understand our planet.
Right.
You know,
and that
it's
kind
the
of
craziest thing.
That kind of goes back to the whole Oceangate thing. People don't understand that far down in the water, if they were alive and they wanted to recover them, I don't think the technology is there to be able to do it. I think you can go down there with a small sub, right? They can design those things, but even that is pretty technologically advanced.
Right.
I don't think that you can just be like, oh, they're down there, let's go get them.
Well,
It's not that easy.
And to be honest with you, and saying this with all respect, I don't think there's anything left. We don't know what type of creatures are at that depth either. It's just a bad situation all the way around.
That's where all the old gods are.
Oh, for sure.
That's the thing. Look, we always talk about the mysteries of space and aliens, but we could have creatures that we don't even know of that are down at those depths.
You remember when they first discovered the giant squids?
Yeah, the colossal squids.
And now it's just like factual. So like people growing up,
I
and
mean,
in school
think about
now
all
are
the
gonna know about
earthquakes
it,
that probably happen in the middle of the ocean that nobody ever hears about. That made cracks and things can come out that weren't supposed to. A
new one is some type of shark that they are comparing it to a megalodon. I don't know if it is a megalodon, but it's bigger than a great white.
And that's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, they have videos of them now.
And have y'all been seeing lately, talking about the ocean, have you been seeing the riptides that have been going through in Florida? Mm-hmm. Like they've had double red flags. I was reading this story on social media, yesterday about these 2 kids that had these inner tubes, and they were pulled out like within a matter of seconds, way out.
Yeah.
And then their parents tried to go and save them, and they had to go and they swam out, and they all were holding on to these inner tubes, and like they were terrified. They couldn't swim back to shore. Like thankfully a big wave kind of pushed them onto like a sand dune or whatever. Yeah. But they were terrified. I mean, the ocean we don't know hardly anything about it. This is why I don't even like my kids going into the ocean, just because anything can happen. On them. Yeah, anything. Well, even if you put those on, I mean, anything can happen. They can be pulled out, and then it's over.
Always like the videos of people like filming from their hotel balconies of like all the sharks out in the water, and people are just out there swimming.
Yeah, just having a grand old time.
I know the last time we were in Florida when we had our vacation, there were dolphins all the way around there. I mean, it's cool, it's fascinating, but at the same time, it's scary, especially when you have kids and you don't want them to be out there because you never know what'll happen.
Man, could you just imagine being like really out in the open sea too, and just out there in the water, how so much stuff is happening below you? Ugh.
Yeah, the further out you get, the bigger
it's uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, me and our cameraman, we have a cameraman here today, which is my good buddy Austin. We took a family vacation. It was his family. I went with them, and we went deep sea fishing.
Oh, nice.
And he was making fun of me, saying, "Oh man, you're gonna get so sick. You're gonna get so sick." This guy was puking the entire trip. Hey, and the fisherman there was like, "Oh, that's good chum. Keep going. Keep puking. You know, it's good chum for the fish." fish.
Hey, I went shark fishing out there one time, and it's catch and release, But we would catch and release them. But you say he got sick. I got sick almost immediately. But I'm out there like throwing up and reeling in fish at the same time.
No, it was funny though because his dad was like picking on him, like, "Hey, you want to eat breakfast?" Because me and his dad went inside because they were cooking like these breakfast sandwiches, and Austin was just like, he was basically looking at us like, "Shut up," I don't want to,
for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't want any food either.
It was bad news.
Yep.
But anyway, so that's the Bermuda Triangle. We talked about a few different stories and theories and stuff like that. I did want to touch on the Oceangate stuff because we do really feel horrible about the whole situation. It was bad. I mean, I know all of us, the United States, was all concerned about it. I don't know about the world, but
the moral of the story is the ocean is sketchy. And
you might be strong, but you ain't nature strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like, even if you have money, like, look, just
find something else to spend it on.
Yeah, have them send a camera down there and then just watch it from the screen because
you can get on YouTube and watch it right now.
Essentially, the Titan, that's what they were doing anyway. You couldn't really see anything; they were watching it from a screen. So it's like I would have said, just send a camera down there and I'll watch.
You can get a VR headset and get on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't like it was going to be like HD,
right?
Clear.
But anyway, I mean, just respect the ocean, respect things that you don't fully understand. I think that's the big takeaway.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Paranormal Mind Podcast. And until the next episode, searchers out.
See ya.
See ya.